If you retire early or even go part-time, your Social Security estimate might be off by hundreds of dollars each month. But the online tools won't give you the answers you need unless you really know how to use them. Your Social Security statement assumes that you'll keep earning the exact same amount until you start taking your retirement benefits. But that's going to be wrong for a lot of people. Social Security does allow you to log in and change your future earnings estimates. But here's the problem. It assumes that your earnings will change now, like when you're doing the calculation, not at some future date you can pick. And it assumes there will be no other changes to your income until you claim. You can't model a switch to a different job or going part-time or any other similar changes. And maybe you want to plan ahead. It's best not to wait until the last minute to figure out what you're going to get. Plus, you really need to know how important your earnings are before you stop working. So we're going to walk through 3 different ways you can figure this out, starting with the easiest approach. I tested these and compared the output, and we will finish up by looking at those results. For a lot of clients I work with, retiring a bit early is not a big problem for Social Security. The amount they get only shrinks by a small amount. Still, this is something you have to check. I recently went through this exercise with a client, and we found that her benefit would drop by $1,300 per month if she stopped working. In this case, she's in her mid-50s, and she didn't work a job that pays into Social Security until later in life, so that might be an extreme example. So let's look at the easiest way to try to figure this out. Start by logging into your account at ssa.gov. On the first page after you log in, scroll down to where it says Retirement Calculator. You'll see a little chart with your benefit at different ages, but you want to look for this area where it says Average Future Annual Salary. Click on that drop-down arrow, and this is where you'll be able to make updates. If you enter 0 in this box, you're telling it that you would stop earning income from now on, and so you can do that and then click Calculate. You'll notice that the chart below updates, and this tells you what your benefit would be if you stop earning and paying into the system right now. This is what we're looking for. How different is that number from what was showing before? You can switch back and forth and have it go back to your last reported income if you want. If the difference is big, it tells you that your earnings are still important. As you continue to work and pay into the system, you're probably helping yourself get a bigger monthly benefit payment. That's especially true if you're in your 50s or 60s, and that's typically when you're in your highest earning year. Most of the clients I work with have worked and paid into the system for decades. In those cases, we usually find that they'll lose a few dollars per month. It's typically less than $100 a month, especially if they're in their 50s or 60s. But again, there are some exceptions, so you need to check. With this calculator, you can see a table below the chart, and if you choose to print or save your results, you'll get a slightly different looking table. You can repeat this process multiple times, and each new income number gives you a new set of results at full retirement age and 62 and 70. That might be interesting if you're evaluating different options, like maybe working part-time or going to a different job or going out on your own. This is helpful information, but you'll notice that there's nowhere to enter exactly when you want your income to change. The assumption is that you'll switch to that new income, whether it's 0 or something else, this year. You can't say switch to 0 in 5 years and then I'll take benefits 5 years after that. So we usually end up with information that's not entirely accurate for the situation. It ends up being a conservative estimate because if you think you'll stop working in 5 years, but we say that your income's going to 0 today, then we're ignoring 5 years worth of income that should help your benefit. So what can you do about that? If you want more control over modeling your future income and when the income changes, then you can look at the online calculator from Social Security. This calculator allows or requires, depending on how you look at it, allows you to enter your year-by-year earnings history so that you're actually using real data from your work history. To get that information, you'll need to log into your account. On the main screen, look for Review Your Full Earnings History under your eligibility and earnings. Then click on that text and you'll get your year-by-year earnings history. Go ahead and take a stroll down memory lane while you're on this page. You'll see every year of your reported earnings, and you might reminisce about things like your first job or twists and turns in life or whatever else has been going on. It's always interesting to look back, even if the trigger was something as unexpected and boring as your Social Security earnings. Anyway, use that information to fill in the boxes. I suggest using keyboard shortcuts so that you can keep it quick and accurate. You'll also need to enter your date of birth, and I like to keep everything in today's dollars for now. It's probably best to start with FRA for your age at retirement. We want to compare this to your Social Security statement and make sure everything's more or less consistent before we start tweaking things. So enter the latest earnings from your Social Security statement and then use that same number for your expected future earnings. And you might notice that this calculator is a little behind, but that's what we've got. At this point, we've got something that should more or less resemble your Social Security statement. So click Calculate and see if the result matches your full retirement age benefit on your Social Security statement or from the online calculator. This probably won't match perfectly. I'll share some comparisons that I did while testing a little bit later, but for now, we just want it close enough. Now that you've got a baseline established, we want to start playing with the numbers. The two things you'll probably change are the age of retirement up near the top and the future earnings down near the bottom. This calculator has a bit more customization because you can, number one, pick a time in the future and not necessarily the same as your claiming date when your earnings will turn to zero. And number two, you can change your future earnings just like in the last calculator. The retirement age is interesting because if you enter a number under 62, then it's just going to show you your age 62 benefit farther down the page. So that is unfortunate, but you can still get some decent information here. Again, the main thing you're looking for is how big the differences are when you change your future income and or your retirement date. Is it a big difference or a small change? Now, if this is still not getting you what you need, then the next step is to look at some financial planning software. There are several options out there that will use your actual earnings history, which I think is important. That's almost certainly better than having a calculator estimate your entire lifetime of benefits based on just your last year's earnings. Most of the options I'm aware of are paid programs, but there might be some free DIY options out there. When it comes to DIY, the main one I'm aware of is Maximize My Social Security, but do some research to see what else might be available. I have Right Capital and Income Lab, and both of those allow me to enter the earnings manually. It's a lot like that online calculator where you have all the boxes and you just fill them in year by year. By the way, I believe Maximize My Social Security has you upload an earnings file instead of having to type in all the numbers. These programs are designed for maximum customization, and they can be a little bit confusing if you're not familiar with all of the Social Security rules or with retirement planning concepts in general. They'll typically inflate everything. They're looking at the earnings tests. They do spousal benefits and a lot more. They can also account for changes in your income, and you can customize as much as your heart desires. Change your income every year, take a few years off, whatever. As you change your retirement age, these calculators know that you should stop paying into the Social Security system, so your benefits should change as well. Perhaps most importantly, you can change both the retirement and claiming ages to answer questions like, what if I worked for 5 more years, retiring at 63, and then wait until 70 to claim benefits? If you want maximum customization, a more advanced calculator is the way to go. The Social Security Administration also has a tool you can download, and that offers some customization as well. It's been a while since I used that one, and you can certainly give it a try, but I was not thrilled with it, and I think the others are quite a bit easier. Now, how do all of these calculations compare? It's important to remember that we're not going to get every tool to give the same output down to the dollar. Different tools use different assumptions and methods, and we're predicting the future anyway, so that's okay. For the questions I'm interested in, they all seem to be pretty consistent. But again, there are some answers you can't get from the online Social Security tools. I usually want to know two things when I'm working with a client. Number one, how much does your future income matter for your Social Security benefit? If you retire early, is that going to derail things? And number two, how much income can we expect under different scenarios? Here you can see test results from a 57-year-old who has a pretty full work history, but there was some time away for caregiving. I have her Social Security statement, and she also went into her account to set future earnings to zero and sent me a copy of the output. That top line is the statement value from SSA, which is our baseline. And yes, they're out of order, but I'm the type of guy who keys everything off of FRA, so that goes first. Again, FRA is your full retirement age when you can get unreduced benefits and other stuff happens. She would get $3,510 a month if she keeps working until FRA, and we can see that the other two calculators produced a similar benefit. But if she stops working today, that benefit drops to more like $3,180. You'll see that the online calculator couldn't even give us an answer because, again, it only tells you the benefit at age 62 if you stop working before then. At age 62, we can get answers from all the calculators, and again, we have a blank under age 70. You can also see all of this in a graph if that's helpful. And by the way, if you're finding this helpful, please leave a quick thumbs up. The results are pretty interesting, with the online calculator currently coming in lower. And the bars on the right side for each age are the cases where there's zero future income. That's the green and orange and blue-green, I guess. So the question becomes whether or not it makes sense to keep working. And that, of course, depends on what's happening with everything else in your life and your finances. But with this type of information, you're better prepared to decide. And while we're on that topic of Social Security and early retirement, what can you do if you claimed early and now you regret it? Maybe you're working again, or maybe you realize that you want to get a bigger payment, or maybe do some tax planning strategies. I've got a video popping up now on suspending your benefit, and you might find that one helpful.